Hey, welcome back to Alex Talking. And today I want to talk about Project Hail Mary because I saw this over the weekend, and I have to say, I have been sitting on it for 3 nights now, and this movie is aging really, really well with me. Way better than most movies I've seen in a while. And I'm not the first person that's going to tell you it's good or worth seeing. Maybe I'm the first person that's going to be hanging out in a pool to tell you that, though. So, this movie comes to us from Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who haven't directed a movie since 22 Jump Street, which actually is my favorite of the Jump Street movies, which I rewatched last year with my friends and had a great time, and they hold up. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is one of my wife and I's favorites. I really love the Lego movie, and they produced the Spider-Verse movies, which are still making waves in animation and influencing how that entire field of the industry is made. So these guys coming back to the director's chair is a pretty big deal, and so is Ryan Gosling starring in this movie, which you may hear and go, well, what do you mean? I mean, Ryan Gosling's a movie star. But I want to talk about Ryan Gosling's career trajectory a little bit because he's a movie star, but in a very interesting way. He reinvents himself so gracefully. He has been in this new era I would call movie star, like A-list movie star Ryan Gosling, since the pandemic. After the pandemic, his first movie was The Gray Man, and this was coming off of First Man, you know, the last space movie he made where he played Neil Armstrong, and it bombed. Now you have him doing The Gray Man, which is just a boring Netflix actionaire. Follow that up with Barbie. Barbie redefines who Gosling is. He gives an all-time great comedic performance in Barbie. It's undeniable. What he does with Ken in that movie is amazing. He fully leans into that now with The Fall Guy. The Fall Guy was a box office bomb, but it's a movie I've seen 5 times. So I'm here to tell you that I actually really enjoyed it. And he's just doing more of Ken in The Fall Guy. It's just a lot more of that. The biggest issues with that movie is Hannah Waddingham's character, and Emily Blunt actually is the first person I've ever seen to not have very good chemistry with Ryan Gosling. Gosling himself is still great in that movie, though. Him and Aaron Taylor Johnson have great chemistry in it, um, and Brian Tyree Henry, or is it Winston Duke? I think it's Winston Duke. Um, all the dudes in that movie have great chemistry with Gosling. Anyways, so he takes what he did in Barbie, amplifies it, hones it in Fall Guy, and now this is a one-man show of him doing, once again, the same type of humor, the same comedic beats. And I'm going to say, viewer, that this all dates back to The Nice Guys in 2016. You know, the inflections in his voice, the eeks, the little squeaks he does, that's all going back to Hall and March and The Nice Guys. Which of course came in the middle of an era where he was just, to me, doing nothing but the best projects in art house filmmaking, from La La Land to, I mean, if you want to kick it all the way back to like Half Nelson could have been the start of that era. You have Place Beyond the Pines, Drive, Only God Forgives. I'm a Nicholas Winding Refn fan, so I'm going to defend that as well as Drive, of course. And you have him in Blade Runner 2049, not giving a, charismatic, funny Ryan Gosling performance. It's a completely different performance than what he does in movies like this and Barbie and Fall Guy. So I just think it's very, very interesting to see how he's evolving as an actor, but also on how he brands himself. It's okay to do the same thing over and over again. People act like I'm going to get tired of Vince Vaughn, even though I never will. Vince Vaughn's an actor that does a great job redefining himself. See Brolin Cell Block 99 and True Detective Season 2 for reference, but I'm not going to go into detail on that. But you know what I mean. Some actors just get into a habit of playing themselves over and over, and there's nothing quite wrong with that. Charles Bronson was great. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sometimes you can get tired of that with actors like The Rock. I think you have a real issue with that. Here, I think that he does it so well, is what I'm highlighting here, is that he never is doing the same thing again. But even whenever he's using his same bag, he still gets into different duffels. Because here, he's doing very much so what he was doing in Barbie and the Fall Guy, but with a very unique mix of half Nelson and First Man. I think what he brings to the character of Ryland Grace here is nothing short of fantastic in what could be a role that, if not well played, tanks the entire movie. Because he is the only human character on screen for at least 75% of the movie. Um, I say human character because if you've seen the ads, you know who else is in this movie. If not, you want to go in completely blind, then click off the video. I highly recommend the movie. That's all you need to see. That being said, Rocky is in this movie. Not Stallone, no. The alien creature that is making big waves. Everyone loves Rocky. I love Rocky. Um, this whole movie is a two-hander between Gosling and a puppet of a rock. And that was all the charisma I needed. Gosling charisma and puppet charisma. Yeah, that worked for me. I didn't have any problem with the CGI in this movie, which is something that I usually complain about with mainstream filmmaking and blockbusters. But there's something about space that they just are able to do really well when they want to. And Greg Fraser, the cinematographer of this, of course, also did Dune and Dune 2. He shoots the hell out of this thing. It looks amazing. The space sequences look awesome. I think that the score also really highlights the space sequences. Daniel Pemberton did it. He's been one of my favorite composers, going all the way back to Steve Jobs in 2015. Is one of the best film scores ever, in my opinion. And he did the Spider-Verse movies as well, so he's got a good rapport with these guys, I imagine. I just was thinking about that, and it's like, yeah, I think that he came up with a lot of fun melodies for the like lighthearted sequence in this movie of just Rocky and Grace hanging out, as well as the action sequences have great scores to it. So this is one of those things when you think about it. It's also written by Drew Goddard, who I'm a huge fan of Drew Goddard because I like Bad Times at the El Royale and The Cabin in the Woods. So it's written by him, but adapted from a screenplay by Andy Weir. Or by a novel by Andy Weir. I've never read Project Hail Mary, the novel, but believe it or not, I have read The Martian back whenever I was a teen, before that movie even came out. I ended up thinking that the movie The Martian was kind of just okay. I would really like to rewatch that because I was so like young in my film experience. I would have been 13 when I saw that, and I would have read it whenever I was 12, which I remember thinking at the time, this is way too inappropriate, it just swears a lot, and then the movie was just not swearing as much. Whenever you're 13, it's like, that's boring. Has a good cast, though. Now, every time I see that cast, I'm like, Donald Glover's in The Martian? Sebastian Stan's in The Martian? Kate Mara's in The Martian? I wouldn't have recognized these people, at least not to the degree that I do now back then, so it would mean something more to me to rewatch that. And of course, knowing it's a Ridley Scott film, that's a huge tangent to get on. Other than to say that I'm not huge on The Martian, the movie, I would always say it's like a 3.5 star movie. I've always thought the book was kind of just okay too. And I thought that this was much more the movie that I would have wanted whenever I was that age, whenever I was a 13-year-old reading a book because it had a spaceman on the cover of it. I would have wanted it to be with a rock instead of just a guy alone on Mars. So I think this is going to resonate with a lot of people, especially younger people, and it's going to be an Interstellar of a certain generation. I love Ad Astra. If anyone's seen James Gray's Ad Astra with Brad Pitt in it, my friend and I saw that opening weekend, and me and him have talked to each other about it and referenced it for years. We've always thought it was great. And then I found out like nobody else likes that movie. So shout out Ad Astra, which is actually my favorite space movie since Interstellar. This is just a hair behind Ad Astra. But This is great. Gosling's fantastic in it. It's a really fun experience. I think it's only going to play better on a rewatch knowing where the full journey goes. I was more expecting certain like bombastic blockbuster elements to be in the third act that didn't ever come. And where I would say the initial 30 minutes I left the theater feeling a little cold, sitting on it, it's only sat better with me thinking about what the actual movie was about, what the purpose of the amnesia and what the purpose of his character and telling that story the way it was all about. It made it all make a lot more sense just sitting on it, thinking about it, and really appreciating how great the storytelling is for a movie that I believe can be a complete four quadrant enjoyed by everybody movie. I recommend everybody to go see this. Take your kids if they're like 9. I'd say probably 9 or 10 is old enough to see this. It's really not that scary at any moment and not inappropriate. And take your grannies to see this. Take your grandpa to see this. Everyone's going to enjoy this movie. I took my father-in-law, who had been talking about it for weeks now at this point. He read the book, was super excited for it, and he loved it. He just wished that the kiss needle drop was in it, and hell, so do I. But we saw it with a fantastic theater in a sold-out IMAX crowd, and we had to drive across town to see it because the local theater was sold out. So I love to see that this movie is playing big with big screen audiences. We need that. And yeah, the IMAX crowd I saw it with was buzzing. People were all laughing, really on the movie's wavelength. I got my wife a 32-ounce margarita bucket, and we had a great time. So I'm going to definitely recommend go out, see this movie on the biggest screen you can. Totally worth it. IMAX, Dolby, Big D, XD, whatever your premium format theater is. And hell, if you can see it in a drive-in, go and see it in a drive-in. I'm recommending Project Hail Mary, giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. Let me know what you think if you saw it down in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I am going to go to a Mystery Movie Monday, hoping it'll be They Will Kill You.